Hey YouTube. I thought I would take a moment to maybe collect my thoughts about my process, my journey, everything I've gone through when it comes to my L5-S1 herniated disc that led to a microdiscectomy that I recently had. Because I know I came to YouTube, I watched a lot of videos, I struggled with the thought of, am I making the right decision? Is this the right treatment for me? So I thought I would kind of use this little piece of time to kind of talk about the beginning of that injury, what started, what I did, what was working for me, what didn't, and how we got to here. So about 8 years, I can kind of remember it clear as day. I was training. I trained a lot. I trained really hard back then, 2 days, and I had plans to head downstate to visit some friends, and I was at the gym and I was, staring up at the wall, looking at a clock, doing math in my head, thinking about, I got about another 30 minutes of this workout left, and by the time I get home and shower, and then I get dressed, and I get ready, and I get in the car, am I going to be able to get down there in time to stop the house, or do I need to meet everybody at the gym? What does that look like? And I wasn't paying attention. I was looking at that clock, and I went to pull up on a deadlift, and I felt like a rubber band snap almost in my back. Just very sharp, very quick pains. Nothing I've ever felt before, and I've trained through a lot of injuries. And I set it down. I thought I could walk it off. I took a lap around the gym. I went back. I tried to pull it up and I couldn't. And I was like, all right, this workout's done. We're going to go stretch and it's going to be fine. And it wasn't. I couldn't stretch. I remember tears in my eyes at the gym, and I knew there was a problem. And I did not try to get home and shower and drive downstate to see my friends, because I had a feeling that whatever this injury was, I would get in the car, drive 2-3 hours downstate, and whatever it was would escalate, and I would be stuck downstate with no way to get home and get this fixed. So I found a really great local sports doctor who confirmed kind of what I thought, that I had herniated a disc. He set me up with a steroid pack, a tapering steroid pack, anti-inflammatory, like the prescribed version of naproxen, and some muscle relaxers, and got me into PT. And at the time, nobody could tell me anything. I kept training, and I kept kind of reactivating that injury throughout PT. And to the point, being stubborn enough that I had to repeat physical therapy 3 times. So I didn't really take the injury seriously, and slowly but surely they kind of corralled in, like, no, you can't run, no, you can't lift, no, you can't, to the point that I was just sitting on the couch, and that was a very depressing, awful time for me, because, my life was structured around the gym. But I did get it under control, and I was not aware at the time that this would be an injury that would haunt me indefinitely, that it would flare up from time to time, and nobody really kind of explained that to me. And I think that that's something that should be explained, that this happens, and it's out there, and it'll probably happen again. Knock on wood, if you get treated and it works for you, great, but for folks like me, this one was around and it was sticking around. And I'd go months, maybe 6 months, and then I'd have a flare up, and I would go back to my sports doctor, who would throw the same round of medication at me, steroid pack, naproxen, muscle relaxer, have you go to PT. And I would get all patched up again, and thought that this is just a cycle, that it's going to happen from time to time. But as the years went by, and this is over the course of 8 years, it would be something silly, like reaching for something in the garage, working on something in the house, and reaching for something, and, feeling that similar snap in my back, and immediately, pain radiating down my leg, my glute, my hamstrings, into my knee, down to my foot, toes going numb, all on the right side. So I knew something was wrong I knew something was probably going to have to be addressed, but I didn't realize how bad it was. And it was, you know, making the bed. One day I threw my comforter on the bed, and that's kind of what led to this last one. So I would say every 2 to 3 times a year that this was something that would happen and impact my life, and kind of sideline me for, you know, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks, however long PT and medication took to work. But I was willing to put up with it at the time. Fast forward to right around February of 2020, right before Corona and everything else kicked off. I was supposed to be traveling to Austin, Texas with some friends, and same thing, doing stuff around the house, was making bed, throw the comforter on the bed, and I felt that pop in my back, and I was like, oh crap, here we go. I have a new doctor team now, down at Northwestern here in Chicago, and they saw me and they said, you've had success with this medication regimen. We're going to get you steroids, muscle relaxers, you know, naproxen. Go on your trip. Don't worry about it. You know, if you're still feeling pretty crummy when you get back, we'll send you for PT. And I went on that trip. I can be pretty stoked about pain, so I didn't let on to anybody that I had re-injured myself, but I did get on that plane, and it was a very uncomfortable plane ride. It's not a terribly long ride between, you know, Chicago and Austin, but I was definitely not comfortable at all for the duration of that ride. I had difficulty walking around. I had shooting pain in my leg the whole trip. And if you've ever been to Austin, it's a great place to wander and walk around, and I was definitely the last little duck hobbling along in our group of friends. So when I got back, I advocated for myself. I went back, I saw my doctor, I told her what was going on, and she ordered an MRI and said, hey, let's just get better eyes on the situation. You know, we don't know what it looks like, and based on that, you know, maybe it's time to take the next step. You know, we'll talk about what's next. So she sent me for that MRI, and she immediately referred me to their spine institute. There was no question that this was bad and it needed to be addressed. And we set the consultation, but due to COVID, that appointment got pushed off. So I didn't get to go in March, I didn't get to go in April, and I did get rescheduled a couple of times at some point to May. And they did call me, and that was the height of this flare-up. I was trying to go to the chiropractor and get adjustments, and that wasn't touching it, or it would touch it briefly. I would have some relief, and my pain would skyrocket up. I mean, there were days that, you know, it took me 45 minutes to get myself out of bed, to just psych myself up for the pain that I knew was coming. And there was nothing I could do about it because I had to get up. I'm lucky enough that I've been able to work remotely, you know, during this whole pandemic, but I still knew I had to get out of bed. I had to shower. I had to get dressed, and I had to put on my game face and get through video conference calls in my day. And I have never felt pain like that in my life, not for that duration of time. I mean, this was 3 months. I mean, March, April, May into June, the kind of pain that you can't even breathe, you can't get up. I couldn't put weight on that foot. And things that I love to do, hiking. I mean, I used to just throw on my pack and go hike for fun for 12 miles just because I could. And I couldn't even walk around the block. I mean, not even down the block. I'd get halfway down my block and realize I was in trouble and had to come back to the house. So when they called to reschedule the appointment again, I said, like, look, I understand the pandemic. I understand there's a lot going on, but I really need to see you guys. They thought I was just waiting to get in to get some diagnostic work done. And I said, oh no, y'all have my diagnostics. My MRI results are tucked away in the system. If you could look them up, I really need to consult with you guys about what is next for me when it comes to my treatment. And I did get to see them. I saw their chief of orthopedics, and I did see the whole team that I would be working with from that point on, the physician assistant, the nurse assigned to that group. I saw everybody, and it was a rather quick evaluation. I mean, I know all the signals and the flares for sciatic pain, and, you know, they put me through 1 or 2 tests, and they said, we're not going to put you through any more pain today, so you You can breathe, you can relax. We're just going to let you sit or stand or however you're most comfortable, and we're going to talk about what's next for you. I got to meet with Dr. Alpesh Patel at Northwestern, and he came in and he sat down and he said, I've talked to everybody that saw you today, and we're going to walk through your MRI real quick. And he put it up on the screen and he said, that right there is a problem, and that's where your problem is. He said, this herniation on your L5-S1 is really pushing on that nerve root, and it's causing all of the symptoms that you have. And he said, your next step is surgery. And in my head, it rocked my world a little bit because, in my head, I still thought, I'd done the research. I knew what the options were, and it was going to be steroid injections or it was going to be surgery. Right? But I had hoped that somewhere, some way there was going to be some miracle physical therapy, aquatic therapy, something I had never heard of that was going to fix this for me without any kind of needles or surgical intervention. And then I said, he said, take your time. I know you're going to go home. I know you're going to look at the internet and you're going to hear some scary stories. But what I want you to remember is that people who have this type of surgery that you need, when they get better, they go on and they live their life. And you don't see or hear from them because they just got busy getting back to life. He goes, you're going to read some stuff. And yes, side effects are possible. Absolutely. But we do this every day. And I'm going to send you home with some information. I want you to read it. You feel free to ask us any questions, any follow-up that you need to. And we hope you make this decision, because this is where you need to go next. He said, you hurt yourself almost 8 years ago. Had you started any kind of steroid injections, epidural injections back then, it may have helped you. But at this point, that's not going to help. It's not going to offer you the relief that you need. The only thing to change this picture is to go in and to have surgery and correct that disc. So I did go for a couple consultations. I'm that girl, I can't just go and say yes to surgery. I got to talk to a couple other experts. I went to University of Chicago. I did talk to some affiliates with Rush, but I made the decision, and I struggled with a little bit. Surgery is a scary thing for me, but I did make that decision to have surgery. When I consulted for epidural shots, another great pain management doctor talked to me, and he was very clear. He walked me through my MRI. He showed me the same picture Dr. Patel did, and he said, he explained the procedure to me. And I don't know about everybody else, but I'm allergic to contrast dye, which is what they use to help place the medication when they give you an epidural injection into your spine. So it would be it would be a similar procedure that most people get, but I would need to be sedated. I would have an IV put in. They would need additional medication. Sorry, my lights are shutting off. To Alexa, turn on the right lamp, please. So I would need to have an IV. I would have to go to a surgical center, and I would have to get an IV put in, and I would have to be sedated, and I would have to be given additional medication to prevent that allergic reaction from happening, because it has happened to me. And to prevent it, there would be this additional medication, and they wanted a 3-shot commitment from me. And that all just seemed like a whole lot of anesthesia and anxiety, because I'm not one. I don't enjoy getting IVs put in. I don't enjoy going to surgical suites. I don't enjoy any kind of invasive treatment to my body. So to go through what I knew would be 3 trips to a surgical center, 3 trips to get an IV put in, 3 trips of being sedated, 3 trips of getting medication to hopefully prevent allergic reaction to the contrast I use to place the medication to hopefully give me some temporary relief, seemed just too much. It just didn't seem appropriate for me. And that doctor who walked me through my MRI at the pain management clinic said the same thing. And this is what stuck with me, is he said, this procedure can help manage your pain, but it does not change this picture, and he kind of circled around where that herniation was in my MRI. And I thought to myself, well, if I have to commit to 3 shots, and hopefully I could get 3 months of relief out of them if I could. It's different for everybody, but we'll just use round numbers. 3 months, 3 months, 3 months, 9 months. 9 months, and if it fails, and it's going to, because the shots don't change the picture. That herniation's there, and it's pushing on that nerve, and that's never going away. I could schedule surgery, and I could be well on my way to healed within 4 to 6 months. Back to, higher impact activity. I could get back to running if I wanted to. I can get back to spin rides if I want to. I can get back to hiking if I want to. I can feel really good by the time my 41st birthday hits, because I'm 40, and I'm not getting any younger, and this is not getting better on its own. So I decided to elect for surgery. I got a hold of that team. I told them I was committing to it. We scheduled the date, we scheduled the time, and we did it. And we had those conversations, and I got prepared for it. So I will save that experience, my surgical experience, for another video, but I just kind of wanted to get this content out there so you kind of understood that 8-year journey from initial injury for me to flare-ups, 1, 2, 3 times a year, that kind of disruptive behavior, up to the point of this last really bad flare-up that lasted February, March, April, May, into June, and even into July, but I was personally restricting my activities. So while I felt like my pain was coming down, it's just that I wasn't as active as I would normally be, and that's kind of what was saving me. So we will talk more about microdiscectomies in my next video, but I wanted to share this with you, and I hope it's very helpful. Bye, guys.